Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to dive into service procurement in SAP MM module. We'll explore what a service purchase order is and how it differs from a material purchase order. We'll be doing a full end-to-end cycle of a service purchase order in SAP, and we'll see how we can do service entry in a service purchase order. This is the third part of our series on special procurement process in SAP MM. In first two parts, we learned about consignment process and blanket purchase order process. If you haven't seen the videos on these processes, then I have kept the link in the description. Please do watch them also. Now let's start discussing our current topic, that is the service procurement. So what is a service purchase order? A service purchase order is used when you have to procure services from the vendor. For example, you have to do some maintenance work in your plant. In that case, you will hire the services of a vendor to do that particular maintenance job. Now, unlike material procurement, where you simply order physical goods and you receive the goods in your warehouse, service procurement involves defining service activities. That is, what all services we are going to take from the vendor. And those activities, when the vendor will perform, you will do something called as a service entry, and then you will make the payment to the vendor. Okay, so this is how a service order is different from a material procurement. Now let's take a business scenario. Let's say that you have to do air conditioner maintenance in your plant. Okay, you have some ACs that you have to do regular maintenance on, and you line up a vendor for that maintenance activity. So this AC maintenance will involve multiple tasks such as deep cleaning, gas charging, electrical repairs. Okay, and against these tasks, vendor will provide you a rate card. Okay, that rate card will contain all these activities and will contain the rates against those activities. Okay, now these activities are called planned service activities. Now, apart from these planned services, when the vendor actually starts the servicing of the AC, the vendor might discover that some additional work also is required, like replacing any faulty parts. Once you open the AC, then only we'll come to know that what all parts have become faulty, and there is a requirement for replacement of those parts. Okay, so these services which are not anticipated in advance, they are called unplanned service. So imagine that you create a single line item PO as you create for material, and then you call the vendor. Then this single line item PO cannot be sufficient to cover your requirement. Your business requirement involves some planned services, and your business requirement involves some unplanned services also. This particular requirement cannot be fulfilled by a single line item PO. You need to have something called as services and something called as a limit in your purchase order. So to cater to these requirements, SAP has given a special procurement process that is called the service procurement. So why you use a service purchase order? So as I have told you, to address the business requirement, SAP has given a special procurement process, and this process contains provision to enter individual activities against a main purchase order line item. Okay, you use an item category. Okay, that item category is item category D. Against that item category, if you enter a PO line item, you will have a services tab opened up against that line item, against which you can enter your individual activities, that is your planned activities. Now for this kind of a PO, you will not do goods receipt through MyGo. As you know, that T code MyGo is used to do GR for materials. But for service procurement, what you will do is you will create something called as a service entry sheet. And the T code to create service entry sheet will be ML81N. Okay, and in this service entry sheet, you will be entering the quantities of the planned services, and you will be entering the unplanned services with their details and their quantity and unit price. And this way you can pay the vendor whatever was actually done during the service activity. One more thing is there, that the service entry will be done in two stages. That is, first you will enter the services and save the service entry sheet. Then once you accept that service entry sheet, then only a GR document will get created in the background with movement type 101, and then only your GRIR account entry will happen. Once this GR is posted, you can simply process the vendor invoice through T code Myro, and then you can make the payment to the vendor. So this is the whole process of a service purchase order. Okay, so now let's dive into SAP and see how we can do these activities. So to create the service purchase order, we'll go to T code ME21N. Then we'll enter a supplier. Then we'll enter purchase organization, purchase group, company code. And then to enter the service line, as I have told you, we have to enter item category as D. If you take a drop down in this column, you can see that D stands for services. Okay. So to enter a service PO line, we have to select item category as D. And since you are not going to enter any material code in this line, so no inventory update will happen. And that's why you have to enter a account assignment category. Account assignment category is mandatory for creation of a service PO line. Okay. Now for service PO, you have the provision to enter account assignment category as unknown. If you enter account assignment category as unknown here, then you will enter the account assignment details during service entry sheet creation. Okay, we'll see that also, but let's first enter an account assignment category here. Let's enter K for cost center, and here you have to enter the name of the work that the vendor is going to perform. So in our case, let's enter AC maintenance, and we have to press enter. Now you can see once I have entered item categories D and enter the short text, system has automatically entered PO quantity as 1 here. This is a very important step. Always you have to remember that for service PO creation, you are not supposed to enter any quantity in the main line. Okay, you have to just enter item categories D and a short text. System will automatically enter PO quantity as 1, and then we'll enter the plant and the material group. Now you see, when I have entered the item categories D and entered all the details, you can see a tab named as services has opened up. Now this tab is specifically opened up because of item category D. And under this tab, I can enter my planned services. As I have told you, for service PO, you have to enter a main line, and then you have to enter the individual services which will be executed against that particular main PO line. So to enter individual services, you have the services tab. Here you can enter a service number also. And if you do not have a service number, then you can enter a short text. Now service number is just like a material code. You can enter just like material code. You can enter service codes also in SAP. Now in this video, we'll not be discussing about service code. We'll be discussing in some other video. But if you create a service code and enter in this particular field, then all the details against that service code will be automatically populated. Okay, so right now we'll just enter a short text. We'll not enter any service code and we'll enter a short text here. So let's enter the individual activities. So we'll enter all these individual activities. Then we have to enter the quantity. So let's enter a quantity here. So let's enter 10 quantities in each of these services. Then for all these services, we have to enter the unit price. So we'll enter some unit price here. And we'll press enter. So you can see, because of the account assignment category K, I have to enter the GL account and the cost center here. So I'll enter a cost center here. And to repeat the account assignment in all these individual service activity lines, I have to click on auto repeat AA button here. This is very important. If you want to copy the account assignment details in all these individual service line, you have to click on this particular button. For service PO, you can enter different account assignment details for each service line. Okay, so let's say that you have entered account assignment category as K. Then for each of these individual service line, you can enter different GL account and cost center. Okay, that is the provision for service PO. In this case, if you want to copy these details in all the service lines, you have to click on auto repeat AA here, and all these details have been copied to these 3 activities. Now, if you have some unplanned services, then the limit for those unplanned services we'll enter here. So let's enter some value here, and let's enter an expected value also. Now this particular value is important if you are entering unplanned services directly during the service entry sheet creation. We'll see this, how we can enter an unplanned services. This is the limit up to which you can enter the unplanned services in the service entry sheet. So we'll just press enter now, and then we'll save this purchase order. So you can see my purchase order has been created. Now to enter the actual services which have been done by the vendor, we have to go to T code ML81N. Remember, as I have told you, for material you have to go to MyGo to do the GR. For services PO line you have to go to T code ML81N. So let's go to that T code. So we'll go to ML81N, and here you have to click on this particular button, other purchase order, and here you have to enter the purchase order. Then click on OK. Now you can see the purchase order and line item has come up here. To create a new entry sheet, we have to click on this create button. Now as you can see, the cost center is automatically selected because we have entered a account assignment category K in our PO line item. Now if you want, you can enter details in all these fields. This is external number field, service location field. All these are text fields where you can do the entries. Now let's enter some period here. Now this is the period for which the service has been executed. Okay, so let's enter some values here. Now to enter the services from your PO, you have to click on this particular button, service selection. Now you can see the purchase order and line item has come up here. So if you want to adopt the full quantity, then you have to select checkbox here. If you do not want to adopt the full quantity of all the service lines, then you have to just click on OK here. And here you can see system is giving you all the services lines which were part of the purchase order, the quantity and the unit price also is shown here. Whatever activity the vendor has done, you have to select all those service lines. As you know, in service PO, not all activities may be executed. Some of the activities will not be required and will not be executed. So you have the liberty to select whatever service lines were executed actually while the job was performed. So now let's select all these three lines, and to copy you have to click on this button, adopt services. So let's click this button, and you can see the quantity and gross price has been copied here. You can change the quantity here and enter whatever actual quantity was executed. So let's change some of these quantities. Okay, and then to save the service entry sheet, we have to click on the save button. Remember that for service entry sheet you have two-step process. Once you have to save it, and then you have to accept the service entry sheet. So let's save this. So you can see the service entry is saved. If you want to make any changes, then you can go to the change button. Let's enter a short text for this particular service. So let's enter this short text and again save it. Now if you want to see this particular service entry sheet, you can see it in the purchase order history. Let's open the purchase order and see whether the service entry sheet is appearing in the history or not. So if you go to ME23N, in this purchase order history, you can see this service entry sheet line is appearing. Now this service entry sheet has not yet been accepted, and that is why you cannot see a GR document appearing here. So what we have to do is we have to accept this service entry sheet, and then only we'll be able to create the GR document. So let's accept the service entry sheet. So to accept this, we'll again go to the change button and then click on this particular flag here for acceptance. Now there is one more indicator here. You can see here, this is set final entry. Now for services, system does not understand that this is your final service entry sheet. You will be entering quantities and saving it. If you want to mark it as final service entry sheet, then you have to click this button manually. And if you click this button, then system will close that particular PO line item. Let me just show you that also. So I am just clicking this button here. So you can see this service entry sheet has been marked as final entry. And then I'll click on this release button, and then we'll save this. Now this time a GR document will get created in the background, and a financial document will also get created. So let's save this. So this has been saved, and you can see here accepted is coming here. Now let us see what has happened in the purchase order. So we'll go to ME23N, and if I go to the purchase order history, you can see a 101 document has been created in the background with the value 33,000. If I click on this particular 101 document, then if I go to the document info, I can see the FI document which got posted. If I go to the accounting document, you can see the GRIR entry has been done and a consumption account has been debited. So you have a debit entry in the consumption GL and a credit entry in the GRIR account, and this particular entry will then be used during Myro to process the invoice of the vendor. So this is how you can create and accept a service entry sheet. Since I have marked the service entry sheet as the final service entry sheet, so let's see what changes that has done. to our PO. So if you go to the purchase order data tab here, you can see that the delivery complete indicator has been marked. Okay. Now this delivery complete indicator is very important, because if I want to create another service entry sheet, I will no longer be able to do that. Let's test that also. So if I go to ML81N again, and this time if I again go and create, you can see the system gives me an error that not possible to enter services because final entry indicator has been set, and this is the indicator which I had set manually when I was creating the service entry. So this is all about creating a service entry sheet. And now let's see how we can create a service PO line item with unknown account assignment category, and how we can create a service entry sheet against that particular line item. So again we'll go to the same purchase order, and this time we'll enter account assignment category as U, that is for unknown. If you take a drop down, you can see U is for unknown, and again we'll enter item category as D. We'll enter the same short text here, then press enter, and then enter the plant and the material group, and here we'll enter only one line for testing purpose. So this time we have entered account assignment categories U, so we are not going to enter any account assignment in this particular service line. And let's save this PO now. And now let's create the service entry for this PO line item 20. So again we'll go to T code ML81N, and this time we have to enter item 20 here. Then we'll press enter, and then we'll click on create. Now you can see the account assignment category is blank here. Now here I can enter whatever account assignment category I want to enter. So if I select cost center here, then I'll enter some period, and then again we'll click on service selection, and then we'll select the service from this particular line. And now you can see that I have to enter the account assignment category details, that is the GL account and the cost center, which I had entered last time in the purchase order line item. So we'll click OK. Now we'll enter the short text, and we'll save this service entry sheet, and now we'll accept this. Now let us see in the purchase order. So you can see here for line item 20, again a GR document has been created. Now let's see how we can enter some unplanned services for a particular service PO. So again we'll go to the same PO, and this time we'll copy this particular line item. So if you go to item 30, you can see that services have been copied, and you have a limit also of 1000 rupees. Let's save this line item, and this time we'll enter some unplanned services for item 30. So let's copy this, and we'll go to T code ML81N again. Then we'll go to this other purchase order, enter item 30 here. Then we have to click on create entry sheet. We'll select some services also. So let's select these two services, and this time we'll enter some unplanned services. So for unplanned services, you can directly enter the short text, quantity, and the unit price. So let's just mention. So you can enter your own short text, whatever unplanned services were actually executed by the vendor. Then we can enter the quantity. Now remember, we have a limit of 1000 rupees. So if I enter the total value more than 1000, system will give me an error. Let's see that also. So I am entering 110 as unit price and 10 as quantity. So total value is 1100. Let's press enter. So you can see here system is giving you an error that no overall limit of 1100 for unplanned service exists. So you have a limit of 1000 only, so you cannot enter unplanned services beyond 1000. So I'll just change this, and I'll enter 90 here, or let's say we'll change the quantity here. So we'll enter for 9 only. So now system is allowing you because the value of unplanned services is 990. Okay. So in the same way, you can create this service entry sheet and then you can accept it. So now you can see I have entered an unplanned service also with 990 as total value against the limit of 1000. So let's see that in PO also how it has reflected there. So we'll go to item 30. You can see here the overall limit was 1000 and actual value is 990. And if you go to the services tab, here also you can see how much actual quantity has been executed. So if you scroll right, you can see the actual quantity is also shown here. So you have a service quantity of 10 against which a service entry sheet has been created for 10 quantity. If you go to item 10, then you can see the quantity was 10, but the executed quantity was less, that is 8 for service 1 and 5 for service 2. So this is how you create a service PO and you create a service entry sheet against the purchase order. Once you accept the service entry sheet, then the GR document will get created and then you can process it through Miro. Let's just see how it appears in the Miro. So if you go to T code Miro here, let's go to the T code. So we'll go to T code Miro. And we'll enter the purchase order here and press enter. So you can see all these 3 line items. The GR value which was posted has come up here, and from this transaction you can process the invoice of the vendor. Okay, in the same way that you do in procure to pay process, the same way you will do this and then you will process the payment to the vendor. So this is all about the service purchase order. I have covered every step that is required for service procurement. I hope that you have liked this video. If you like my video, then please like and subscribe to my channel. I'll be posting more videos on SAP MM module. Also, please share it with your friends for maximum reach. Thanks for supporting me. Thanks a lot.